Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are going to be tackling our first proper construction in Latin. Now, the Latin that we have been learning is made up of grammar, vocabulary, and something called syntax. Syntax is the way we put words together to create meaning. Okay, and so far the syntax that we've been using has been pretty limited. We've had subject, verb, object, and we've known that the cases have particular meanings. We've known that the subject of a sentence goes in the nominative, the verb must agree with the subject in person and number, and the object, the direct object, has gone in the accusative case. So that's really pretty much all there has been for us to handle. Well, now we are going to take a major step forward and begin the much more sophisticated constructions, as we call them, of forming sentences. And the first one we're going to tackle is called indirect statement. Now, an indirect statement is used after verbs of saying or knowing or believing or perceiving or hearing or feeling or thinking. Anything where you might then expect the word that in English. Okay. So for example, you might want to say, Julius Caesar said that he had attacked Rome. Or Marcus Antonius says that he is the greatest general in the world. Okay? Or we know that the Gauls are attacking. Or we hear that the Gauls are attacking. Or we understand that the Gauls are attacking. Okay? So after these verbs of saying or knowing or believing or perceiving or hearing or whatever, in English we use the word that, and then we get the thing that was said or known or heard or believed or perceived or whatever. Okay? Now, the way that works in Latin is we follow a construction called the accusative and infinitive. Okay, so when the words or the thoughts or the beliefs of the speaker are reported indirectly, we're going to use this new construction. So for example, if you want to say, I say that the slave is working. Okay, now what I actually say, or perhaps said in the past, is the slave is working. Okay? Now, someone might say, sorry, what did you say? And I might then repeat my original words and say, I say that the slave is working. Okay? Now, in Latin, that would be dico for I say, and then that the slave is working would be servum laborare. Okay? Servum has gone into the accusative, so that is what was the subject of my original statement, the slave is working. Because it's being reported indirectly, that word goes into the accusative, servum, and then is working, instead of using a proper verb like laborat, we're going to put that into the infinitive, and we get laborare. So, dico servum laborare literally means I say the slave to work. In other words, I say the slave to be working. In other words, I say that the slave is working. Okay? So, accusative and infinitive. Now, if there is a direct object involved, so if in the original words we had something like he says that the Romans are attacking the town. Okay, so the Romans are attacking the town. That's what he says. He says that the Romans are attacking the town. We'll have dicit for he says, Romanos for the Romans, and they are in the accusative, are attacking, so that word goes into the infinitive, oppugnare, and then he says that the Romans are attacking the town. The town was the object of that original statement, and that obviously also goes in the accusative, oppidum. So we get dicit Romanos oppidum oppugnare. Okay, and don't panic about the fact that you get two accusatives there, because it's almost always obvious which one is the accusative as part of the accusative and infinitive, and which is the accusative as the object of the mini little sentence. Okay, you'd almost never have any trouble working out which was which, just from the context. Okay. Okay, so that's the construction. Accusative and infinitive used for this construction, which is called indirect statement. Okay, it's an indirect statement. It's not what was directly said. That would be, the Romans are attacking the town. But when that is reported indirectly, what did he say? He says that the Romans are attacking the town. That's when we use the accusative and infinitive construction. Okay, dicit Romanos oppidum oppugnare. Okay, so I'll just give you some examples of that. Now, we are in chapter 4 of book 3 now, and we've got a little exercise here, just practicing that new construction. Okay, and so here we go. The first one is dicit agricolas in agris laborare. Okay, now you'll notice that just with these first ones, I'm tending to put the verb that introduces the indirect statement first. Okay, now being the main verb, you'd kind of expect it to be last, and later on we'll probably find that we have shoved it to the end. But just for now, to keep things nice and simple, the verb that introduces the indirect statement is coming first. So, dicit agricolas in agris laborare. Okay, he says, now, he says, you can hear there's going to be an indirect statement. What does he say? And you've got an accusative, agricolas. He says that the farmers. Now, what about the farmers? He says that the farmers in agris laborare. So you go to the infinitive, which will be the verb in the indirect statement. He says that the farmers, laborare, are working in agris, in the fields. Okay? Right, we'll do another one. Dicit feminam in horto ambulare. Okay, again, dicit, he says. Now, he says, feminam. There is the accusative of our accusative and infinitive construction. He says that the woman, what about the woman? In horto ambulare, is walking, ambulare, that's your infinitive, is walking in horto, in the garden. Okay? Right, number 3. Dicit milites orbem oppugnare. Dicit, he says, milites, that the enemy, he says that the enemy, what are they doing? Orbem oppugnare, are attacking the city. Okay? So you're getting the hang of these? Accusative and infinitive after a verb of saying or hearing or believing or perceiving or hearing. Okay? So it is indirect reporting of what was said or heard or believed. Okay, 2 more to go. Dicit poetam librum amare. Okay? So, dicit, he says. Poetam, there's your accusative. That the poet. He says that the poet. Now, what about him? Librum amare, loves the book. He says that the poet loves the book. Okay, and one more. Dico bellum esse malum. Okay, dico, I say. Now, I say bellum esse malum. I say that the war, there's our accusative, esse, now that's the present infinitive of sum, the verb to be. So I say that the war is malum, bad. I say that the war is bad. Okay? Now, as you know, the only way to be sure that you've mastered a new bit of stuff in this wonderful language is to have a go at putting it into Latin. So, exercise 4.2 is going to ask you to put some of these constructions into Latin. Okay, number 1. He says that the girl is singing. He says that the girl is singing. So we start off with dicit, and then that the girl is singing. Okay, the girl must go into the accusative, and is singing must go into the infinitive, because it's an accusative and infinitive construction. So, dicit, the girl. Puellam is singing cantare. Dicit puellam cantare. Okay? Right, number 2. They say that the soldiers are fighting. Okay? They say, dicunt, that the soldiers, okay, the soldiers therefore go into the accusative, milites are fighting. We want the infinitive of pugno, so pugnare. Dicunt milites pugnare. Okay, number 3. We know that the master is reading. Okay, now, as I said, indirect statement covers verbs of saying, but also hearing and believing and perceiving and knowing. So, we know that the master is reading. We know schemas from schio. So, we know schemas that the master, magister, it's probably a schoolmaster rather than a dominus type of master. So, schemas magistrum, now, is reading lego leggere. So, schemas magistrum leggere. Okay, and we'll do one more. He hears that the enemy are coming. Okay, he hears, audit, that the enemy are coming. Hostes, so that word's in the accusative plural. Hostes are coming venire. So, as you can see, if you hadn't been taught this, there's absolutely no way you'd have got that right. Because it's just, it's a new construction to learn. But once you've got the hang of it, every time you see he says that, or he hears that, or we know that, or we think that, okay, you've got that verb of saying or knowing or hearing or believing, followed by the English word that, and then you go into the thing that was said, or heard, or believed. In that little bit that was said or known or believed, the subject of it goes into the accusative, which sounds peculiar, and the verb goes into the infinitive. And the whole thing is called the accusative and infinitive construction. Okay? Now, there's more to come on this, quite a lot more actually, because what we're going to find is that there are new tenses of the infinitive to learn, and we're going to have to learn or kind of remind ourselves how to use infinitives in both the active and the passive. Okay, but I'm going to leave that till next time, You know, don't want to overload the system here. But we've taken a major step forward now, because the accusative and infinitive construction is, oh, well, I'm going to say it's probably the most common Latin construction, other than the kind of simple subject, verb, object type of thing. You see it the whole time. If you want to be fancy, it's called oratio obliqua. Okay, now, direct speech is what we've been doing up until now. You know, the farmer loves the woman. That's direct speech. That is called oratio recta, okay, right speech. And he knows that the farmer loves the woman is indirect speech, and it's called oratio obliqua. Okay, so if you see that phrase written down, you can think, oh yeah, I remember Oulton talking about that at some stage. But much more important than its fancy name, accusative and infinitive. Just get your head around this weird concept that what is essentially the subject of a verb gets put into the accusative, and the verb itself gets put into the infinitive, and all of that is indirect statement coming after a main verb of saying or knowing or hearing or believing. So, do have a good old look at the book, exercises 4.1 and 4.2. And then next time we will just push on through 2 more infinitives to make things a little bit more complex. But until then, keep up the good work. Drop me a note if you didn't understand any of that in the comments box below, and I'll see you back here on this channel very soon.